Okay, it says I'm using a computer audio, which is strange. Let's see. Audio. No, it's using the USB. It's just lying to me. Okay, good. So you should be able to hear me. Aha, here comes something. Hi there, Ollie. Let's see, who have I got here? You should be able to talk. I don't think I've silenced you people. I'm seeing, well, I don't know how many participants I have. Up here, there are 4 participants. Oh, good. All right. Fair enough. I think I ought to wait a few minutes for people to show up. It's good to have a few people. I thought it would be better. There's an interactive part here where it'd be good to have at least a few people in the class. We'll get to that. Hey, there's Richard. Good. Save that. Close some of my other stuff here. All right. There we go. Good. And there's another one of them to look at, which is going to be here. And it's going to be this page. All right. All right. All right. Guess I'll bring up this page too, so everybody can see the whole story. All right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. Well, I want to wait at least 5 minutes for latecomers to show up. If you can't hear me or anything, please chat or talk and let me know. Let's see if there's something fun in the news. That's what I usually do when I got dead time, waiting for things. This was kind of interesting. And this one was. Yep, we still have people coming in. All right, good. So this CCleaner got hacked last week, and they've explained it came from compromising their development environment. So this is, I think, also what the NSA has found out. You get compromised through the antivirus. So they're talking about this. You have to think about your supply chain. The stuff you trust might be what gets you hacked. And this one I thought was interesting. Cloudflare is a content provider network, and I know the guys that run it, and it protects you, but they do rewrite some of your code, and they don't tell you much about that in order to do that. And as you can imagine, that can turn out to be a problem. So, for example, if you have an email address in your web page and you deliver it through Cloudflare, it will add this code around it to make it harder to see, so bots can't scrape the email address. And they already got in trouble about a year ago with this, and here they are again. This means since code is being modified, you can undo other layers of defenses. And this is Portswigger, the company that made Burp, and he talks about how to overcome cross-site scripting filters, because the attempt of one layer of security to prevent the attack makes it possible. So it is, an issue, as we now get so many layers of defense in depth that they can undo each other's work. Anyway, 6:03, I'll wait another minute or two. I don't know if any of you are investing in cryptocurrencies, but if you are, you are hopefully accustomed to a very high-risk investments. The latest thing is these initial coin offerings. So you make a cryptocurrency-based company, and then you just issue coins, which people buy. It's like stocks, except there's no financial oversight. And these things get hacked like crazy. There have been, this Ether party got hacked, and this is about the 5th major hack in the last month or two. So it was the Enigma project got hacked before it, and then Veracetum, and then an Israeli company, and on it goes. These things are unregulated, unofficial stock offerings for a reason. They are a whole lot less safe. And so this is, of course, a big issue, whether the U.S. government wants to ban encryption. And here's Deputy Attorney General saying again that he doesn't like this encryption where nobody can get in at all. And I thought his statement was actually kind of sensible. Some of my students have a knee-jerk reaction that the government spying on you is bad, but he says, you know, there have been a lot of people, and if you think about CALIA on the phone network, all they're saying is there ought to be some way for them to hand over plain text data if they get a search warrant from the government, the way they do with telephone calls. And the position of the law enforcement people is, why is it that internet transmissions have to be much, much more secure than telephone calls? And I think, I think just saying we have to encrypt everything to the maximum amount possible is probably not really going to be a winner. But we will see. We're currently debating that. Anyway, I think it's late enough now. I've got who's coming. Let's see if this number has changed lately. Just a moment while I try to figure out how to get this to the front. Okay, good. Well, we got plenty more people than I expected. 8 people. Good. I'm glad to hear it. From the preliminary, when I asked people when they were available, they seemed to all be available only at different times, but maybe they've all made it. Okay. So I think I'll just start off here. This is all being recorded on Zoom, and it will all go on the video later. So you should, to orient you, here's my page, samsclass.info. And if you click the CISSP class link, then you get to the page for this class, which is here. I suppose some people put everything in the online course platform, but I'm not really that used to it, so I only use it for the quizzes. And just a moment, I'm trying to get rid of these. There we are. Since nobody's shown much of anything in the videos, I'm just trying to get them off my screen. All right. And so here is where I have the summary of the class and the schedule, and I'll have the videos appearing here in this schedule as we make them. And here's the slides. And then there's the Canvas part, and the only thing I really have here is the quizzes. So I put a link here to get you back to the other page. I asked people to put introductions here, and a few people did, and a few people didn't. And so I'm planning to cover the first 2 bits tonight. So here's the first set of slides, and let me make them big, and I'll start talking about this. If you have any comments, feel free to use the chat. I think you can also talk, and you can also tweet, and it should pop up on my screen, so hopefully you can communicate if you have something to say. Anyway, so the point of the goal of this class is primarily CISSP certification. The people that told me what they wanted, they all seem to be trying to get the certificate right away. One other person said they just wanted to see how much of this is possible in a community college setting, which is certainly reasonable. When I started, I thought a CISSP might be too difficult for community college students, but it isn't. Of course, they may not have the experience, and they may only get associate of ISC squared, but the test itself is not difficult. It's really no more work than Security Plus, if you already have Security Plus and Net Plus. So this is a non-credit course, and you don't get a grade, so I can't demand too much, but I think you should each make 2 videos demonstrating security concepts, and when I teach it next semester, they'll be doing that for points. Yeah.
آقا من کلاسم شروع شده باید برم آنلاین کلاس آقا نوری مخلصی تا کی دم شما خیلی مخلصیم خودم.
I can't understand you. I'm not sure if you're talking to me. I think it may be just background noise. We will see. Aha, a chat may help enlighten me. Yes. He's not talking to me, you say? Yeah. Well, if it turns out to be a problem, I can mute people. I thought they might actually want to talk, but we'll see what happens. Anyway, so this is something I wanted to know. And by maybe at the end of this section, I'll stop and try to get everyone to chime in on the chat or something. I want to find out how many people really want to take the exam, how soon they want to take it. And one possibility for this class is you could get a practice test and be using that right now within the class. But if you do, it will cost money. The practice test I recommend costs about $150 for a 30-day subscription. It's the best, but I don't know if everybody is that serious about taking the test or not. So that's something to think about. This is the exam I recommend, the Transcender. I guess $130 for 30 days. This is what I used. It will really help you pass the test, but you have to study this thing quite seriously. Anyway, so the CISSP is the most important security certificate in the world. It's greatly respected. Everybody is expected to have it if you're any kind of security professional. There are many studies showing that these people hold responsible positions and make more money and so on. It's also respected by the government for security clearance and so on. And it comes along with an ethics standard. So, but you have to have 5 years of experience. It costs $600 to take the test. It's a 6-hour test and so on. And you subscribe to the code of ethics and you can lose it. If there are complaints about your ethics, like a doctor or a lawyer, and you fail to resolve them properly, then you can lose your certificate. Although I'm not sure of any cases where that actually did any good. If you don't have the experience, but you pass the test, you become an associate of ISC squared. And that is, then you have 6 years to accumulate the experience. That's what I did. And that's probably what most of your students would do if you train them at the CISSP class at the level of a community college. Another option is halfway up, SSCP, only 1 year of experience. And I'm not quite sure how much people respect this, but it seems like it would be a step for students who don't want to go all the way right away. All right, and the code of ethics that you agree to is pretty normal, reasonable stuff. You are becoming part of the corporate industrial complex by doing this. So if you are some kind of political rebel that wants to tear everything down, then a CISSP is not something you should be getting. You're going to be protecting society and, of course, obeying the law and doing reasonable business ethics where you provide good service to people that hire you. And so to prepare for the exam, this class is certainly not enough. This will help you prepare, but I always find before any sort of exam, I have to go through all the material twice. So I go through a whole class or a whole textbook, and then I do either another book or a practice test or something, some second complete review. And I left links for how I did it here. By the way, when you see links like that say CISSP 16, those are on my webpage, which is back there a little bit and hard to reach. There. If you go down to the bottom, there are the links here. So one of them is how I prepared. And I'll go back to the slides for a minute. 16. Oh, there's a little bit out of order. No, there it is. Good. So this is the record of how I took the CISSP exam. I used an earlier book, and then I went through the Transcender, and I referred to this as necessary, and that's how it tells you exactly how long it took me and how I did it. So that may give you some guidance in your preparation. All right. So the CISSP is famous for having bizarre questions that make people bothered. It is management, not technical. So there's no hands-on part to it, really. And very often the questions are very strange. You're asked a question that is kind of vague, and all the answers are kind of wrong, and you're supposed to choose the best. At first, this is very strange, and that's the sort of thing a practice exam can help you learn to cope with. It is very different than something like a Cisco exam or a CompTIA exam, where it's technical and there's just one right answer. All right. So there's a link here that talks about the type of hard questions. They just seem to be deliberately phrased in a difficult manner. And this seemed appropriate from Dilbert. They just seem to have gone out of their way to make it hard to understand the questions. And it's been many years and it never gets any better, so many people suspect this is intentional. Anyway, all right. So I think I'm ready to start the actual domains here. Before I do that, I'm just going to pause a minute and see if people want to use, say, the chat. When do you plan to take the CISSP exam, or do you plan to take it? I'd like to have votes by those who are willing to vote. Send a chat message so I know. Or I guess I'll wait a minute or so and see if I get any answers. Other than that, I'll just move ahead.
Where's your chat?
Yeah, no, I'm getting. Aha, there we go. Getting an answer from somebody. 2 people. Good, good. We're moving along. Okay. So, it's the end of this year. Okay, that's reasonable. No plan to take. Okay, fair enough. Winter break. All right. So we got 1, 2, 3 people planning to do it at the end of this year, which would be the end of this course. And another one. That's what I thought. As soon as possible. Okay, fair enough. How interested are you in paying more money to get a high-quality practice test right away? Oh, you've already got it. Oh, good. Not very much. Rachel's interested. You're already using the practice test. Good. All right. Well, from the evidence here, I don't think I want to directly integrate it into the course, but I'm certainly happy to help anybody. If you get the Transcender, that's what I used, and I highly recommend it. But I don't think I'm seeing enough interest here to justify expecting everybody to get it. All right. So I think I'll just shelve that discussion for the moment and proceed with the terms, and maybe as the class goes on, more people may choose to be we may choose to do more about the practice tests. But anyway, so here's the first part of the first domain, which is security and risk management. So there are various topics. This is the part I'm going to cover tonight, Cornerstone Information Concepts, which is pretty much a review of Security Plus. And these other topics are all next time. It looks like a lot, but it isn't. About half the chapter is just the review, and these are relatively short topics. So the point of information security professionals is they evaluate risks. They consider your assets and consider what threats threaten your assets. They then evaluate the risk, which means coming up with some kind of estimate, quantitative or qualitative, of how much danger you're really in and how much money you can expect to lose, and therefore you know what safeguards it's appropriate to deploy to save money. And that's risk management, risk analysis and mitigation, and some technical terms of return on investment and total cost of ownership used to measure how much money you're spending on a defense and how much money you're saving because of the attacks that defense is stopping. So here's a list of terms. These are pretty much Security Plus terms. Confidentiality, integrity, and availability are the foundations of security. And then you got subject and object, and these other ones more specific to risk mitigation, threat, vulnerability, and risk. So confidentiality, availability, and integrity are the 3 things which together make security. You can never have any perfect security. You just have a balance of these 3 factors. So if you maximize availability, you make an unlocked room full of computers with no password on them so the students can easily use it. And then, of course, nothing on those machines is secret, and you have nothing protecting the machines from alteration of the data. So you sacrifice confidentiality and integrity to maximize availability. And so it goes. You can pick which one of these matters more to you, and if you increase it, you get that increase at the expense of the others. You can consider the opposite of those things. Destruction is what lowers availability, alteration is what lowers integrity, and disclosure is what lowers confidentiality. Amounts to just the negatives of those positive features. So confidentiality keeps data secret in the sense that only authorized people can read or write. read is what you're worried about here particularly. So if you leak personal identifiable information like credit cards or social security numbers, that's a failure of confidentiality. And HIPAA is one of the many regulations that require you to keep information private. So data should only be available to users who have clearance, formal access approval, and need to know, at least in a military sense. And you exactly how formal you are about this depends on the nature of your business. Integrity makes sure that nobody is altering data without proper authorization. So you want to prevent unauthorized people from hacking in and changing the data. You want to prevent authorized people from making mistakes. And you want to maintain consistency of objects like referential integrity in a database so that people don't accidentally create situations that are self-contradictory. So you have access controls, you have authentication, so you make sure you know who people are. You have intrusion detection systems to notice if strange people are going where they shouldn't go, logging, and so on. Also, encryption and hashing help maintain integrity. And the attacks are things like viruses and malware and errors and other things that cause things that alter your system in an unauthorized manner. So availability is the third part of security. This means that your servers and data are available to authorized users who are trying to get their work done. So you remove single points of failure and prevent attacks that bring down service. So hardware errors and software errors cause problems here. Environmental issues, denial of service attacks, and human errors all lead to failures of availability. And your countermeasures are aimed at preventing those things. So here's some controls. You can have redundant routers, you can have proxies, access controls that limit what people can do, performance monitoring and traffic monitoring so you notice when things go down and when things are getting overloaded, redundant systems, backups, emergency plans like business continuity planning so you have a plan in place for when something breaks at one site to transfer operations to another site. And fault-tolerant systems that have things like redundant power supplies, so even when one component fails, another component can take over. So you balance these three things, and you can never win perfectly. For example, if you want high confidentiality, then you might have long, complex passwords, but that means you have lowered availability because more of your authorized users are going to forget those passwords and be unable to access systems for a while they go through some kind of password reset process. So another thing, another aspect of this is AAA servers, which come from the telephone network. The idea is you authenticate who people are. Then once you know who they are, you authorize them to do only what they're allowed to do. And then you have accounting, which keeps track of what they did so you can send them a phone bill, billing them for how much phone service they used and who they called and when they called. Sometimes people add identity before authentication, and sometimes people consider auditing as a more specific kind of accountability. But those are the AAA services, and they apply to computer networks just like phone networks. You have to accomplish these three things, or you can't have security of any high quality, because you have to know who everybody is, you have to limit what they're allowed to do, and you have to record what they actually do so you can go back and analyze what happens when things go wrong. So identification is claiming to be someone without proving it. Authentication is proving it because you have some special knowledge of something like a password or perhaps a fingerprint or something like that. Once you have authenticated who you are, authorization is the process of allowing you access to resources based on who you are, and then auditing records what you did, and accounting is going back through those log files to see if people have somehow broken the rules and taking appropriate action. So those are the AAA services: authentication, authorization, and accounting. And so here, the Octo mom was a woman that had 8 babies, and a bunch of hospital workers who were not authorized read her medical records, and the hospital was able to detect that because they went back through their logs with accounting, and they were able to punish the workers that did that, which is a good thing. All right. And now I've got these Kahoots. Just to keep my students awake, I like to use these interactive quizzes, and I think it's especially important in an online class like this where I really can't see your faces or know what's going on. So go to kahoot.it, and I will start this little quiz here. It's like a game show. This is the first one. So it will give you a number in a minute here. You can use a computer or a cell phone or anything. All right, so go to kahoot.it and type in that number, 896-553. You can play a little game show here. There comes Richard, good. No, we had 6 people. Maybe we have more. We have 9 people. Oh, good. The killer. All right. Well, good. So I'll wait a little while to see how many people are going to do this. We have at least 9 people. Well, I guess a maximum of 9 people. All right. I'll wait another 10 seconds. Here comes somebody. Let's see. Chat. Not working? What? Kahoot's not working? You go to open a browser and go to kahoot.it. Go to that URL and you can type in this name. The web page does not come up. Well, let me demonstrate it here. So if I take another web page, it ought to look like this, and you can do it on your phone also. It's just as good. Kahoot.it, and you put in that number, 896-553, and then you'll appear here. That's it. Easier to do from your phone? Yeah, that could very well be. A lot of people, because you're really only going to be picking from 4 big buttons. You don't need a very high resolution or anything. IE doesn't work, but Chrome works. Okay, good. These are good tips. So give it a shot. It's more fun if you get to do this. I'm going to drop out. All right. We got 5. And let me give it another 10 seconds or so to see if we get any more people coming in. All right, I guess that's all we're getting right now, and we'll carry on. Okay, so there's 5 questions, and you can answer them, and you're rated by how quickly you answer them and how accurate you are. So hacker defaces your page. What has gone wrong here? All right, so what has failed is integrity. Not a very popular answer, but if they deface your page, they have just done something like add an image to insult people, and that does not violate confidentiality. They didn't steal any data, and it doesn't prevent availability because your page is still there, but it's an integrity failure. An unauthorized person has been able to alter the page. Try another one. What aspect of security do you enhance with fault tolerance? Good, we got 6 people now. All right, good. Availability is the most popular answer, and that's the right answer. Good. All right, what's a username for? All right, it's for identification. It's not authentication. This is important. Identification is just claiming to be somebody, and that's all a username does. Authentication is proving it with something like a password. All right. So if there are errors in data entry, what have you lost? All right, you've lost integrity. That's good. All right, and there might be another one of these. Yeah. All right, what's the purpose of an access control list?
Sam?
All right, and the access control list is authorization. That is the list that you'll see on a Windows file share or a printer or anything like that that says who is allowed to do what. You might say administrators have full control, users have read-only, and that sort of thing. That's the authorization. After you find out who somebody is and they prove it, then you decide what they are authorized to do. So I'm using the free version of this Zoom, which limits me to 40 minutes, and it's not even just to save money. I think it's good to break things up a bit, especially for people that are going to review the videos later. So I'm going to stop the meeting, and I'll right away start another. You'll have to rejoin, but that will break the videos up into manageable pieces. So come back in a minute.